Hey everybody, welcome to Evolutionary Biology. This is Eric Gilbert here, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester, and I look forward to meeting you. So we're going to start out by looking at our daily outline, and we take a look at this each class before we begin. A key item on today's outline is our eclipse. In fact, that's why we're going to be watching this online. The eclipse is a great opportunity to see a natural phenomenon we just don't normally get to see. I don't want people driving around, messing around, trying to safely get to class. So enjoy the eclipse from wherever you are, and we will regroup for Wednesday. I've got several ideas we're going to be talking about here. We're going to be going over our course schedule. We're going to be looking at class policies. Um, I'll be directing you this time to look at our class website on iCollege to find our syllabus and our calendar. We're going to dive right in to talk about the history and the concept of evolution. Got some reading posted online that you'll see. The topic we'll be talking about is HIV and evolution on Wednesday, and so you'll be reading ahead to know what that is before you get to class. You need the book for this class. The 5th edition is the one that we use. The 4th edition will get you through a lot of it, but the 5th is the one that will be the official text for our course. We're going to have homework. We'll talk about it a little bit later. Homework 1 and 2 are going to be posted. By the time you get this video, you will be able to do those assignments. They will be due on Wednesday in class. They are not terribly long. You should be able to do them comfortably before you arrive. Alright, let me tell you a little bit about me. Again, I'm Eric Gilbert. My office is located in the Science Annex, 432 Science Annex, but we're going to meet for office hours directly after class on Monday and Wednesday in our classroom, which is Outer Hold 2, downstairs in the Outer Hold building. A little background on me. I've got a BA in biology from UC Santa Cruz. I got it a long time ago. The internet did not exist when I got that first degree. My interests then were natural history and environmental studies. I went on from there to get my PhD in environmental toxicology from the University of California at Riverside. I was real interested in the time in a topic called bioremediation, which is using hazardous chemicals to clean up. I said that wrong. My background is in using microorganisms to clean up hazardous chemicals from soil. Man, I really blew that one. That was seriously upside down. At that point, I decided I want to go into academia, so I did a postdoctoral fellow in chemical engineering at UC Berkeley. From there, I went on to become a prof here at Georgia State. I've been here since the year 2000. So what is evolution? In the broadest sense, evolution is merely change. And in that case, we really see lots of things evolving, not just biological systems, galaxies, languages, political systems all evolve. Interestingly, evolution has a positive connotation to it, not devolution where things are getting worse as they move forward. Things that evolve are improving. Kind of cool. Let me read a couple quotes here from a famous biologist, Doug Fatoyma. Biological evolution is change in the properties of populations of organisms that transcend the lifetime of a single individual. It can be slight or substantial. It embraces everything from slight changes in the proportion of different alleles within a population, such as those determining blood types, to the successive alterations that led from the earliest proto-organisms to snails, bees, giraffes, dandelions. I like this quote I found recently. Oddly enough, it's actually from the dictionary. It's from Merriam-Webster. It defines evolutionary biology as a discipline of biology concerned with the processes and patterns of biological evolution, especially in relation to the diversity of organisms, how they change over time. That's, of course, a key theme, and we'll be focusing on how it is that populations change over time and how new species come out of it. But a lot of these concepts applies to a lot of different levels about biology. So we'll be looking at diverse things, particularly interestingly in disease processes. And I know a lot of you have medical interests, and you'll see that evolutionary biology really connects. We focus on the mechanisms that cause evolution in this course. How is it that populations evolve over time? and we see evolution as a unifying concept in biology. You'll see what I mean as we go a little further through this presentation. Biological evolution is, in many ways, a synthesis of genetics and ecology. Genetics, what's its role? It helps us understand how information encoded in DNA becomes observable biological features, becomes traits. We learn from genetics how information is changed, the role of mutations in evolution. And we learn how the information that's stored in our DNA can be mixed and transmitted to a new individual and the role that plays in evolutionary biology. What about ecology? How's that fit in? Ecology teaches us how organisms interact with their environment and with each other. And that plays a major role in how change happens over time in populations. We also get from ecology the role of the environment in survival and reproduction. So you put all this together, genetics, ecology, and you end up, not surprisingly, with evolutionary biology. Evolutionary biology is a science. It's got all the components that we expect as parts of science. We make observations of nature. We do hypothesis testing. We conduct experiments. We make measurements. We put together our data and we accept or reject hypotheses based on our data. It's based in reason. Evolutionary biology is not a rejection of your spirituality or of your morals. You can have faith and be a scientist. The times, from my point of view, what I think that the times that religion and science come into conflict are two ways. One is when people focus on a religious book and say that all the answers are in the book and there's no need to look at anything in nature. We have all the answers already. Well, in that case, who really needs science? Because science is all about discovering things and learning things that are new. The other side of the story is when science, or people who are participating in science, say there's no such thing as faith and there's no such thing as spirituality. Well, the beauty of faith and of spiritual feelings is they're independent of data. They're based on what you believe and how you feel. So there you go. That's my comment on those things. Anybody who wants to talk more about evolution and religion with me is perfectly welcome to. We can do that during office hours. Alright, so why should we even care about this topic? And that is a good question. As students in the university always ask, why should I care about anything? If you don't have a good answer to that, why are we even talking about it? Alright, so evolutionary biology shows up important in health, in terms of infectious disease and drug resistance, in terms of the evolution, the development of cancer. In biotechnology, we use principles of evolution in terms of making enzymes with new properties as one example. We spend a fair bit of time in our course talking about evolution in terms of biodiversity and adaptation. So we'll see a lot of examples of that during the semester. And lastly, but not least, we'll be learning evolution just to deepen your understanding about human philosophy and theology. Evolution is a unifying concept in biology. What do I mean by that? Look at those pictures down here at the bottom of the slide. On the left, you see a Venus flytrap, okay, a meat-eating plant. In the middle, you see blue-footed boobies, birds with these funky blue feet. On the right, over here, I'm going to try to turn on my laser pointer here, you'll see this stick-like thing here. That's not a stick. That's an insect called a walking stick. Why am I showing you these things? All of these things all of these phenotypes, these physical appearances that we see are adaptations in some way to selective pressure in an environment. We can understand them and how they came to be using concepts in evolution. In the absence of concepts in evolution. Each of these things is just some random observation about nature. Ooh, look at that, plants that eat meat. Ooh, look at that, a bug that looks like a stick. Ooh, look at that, some funky birds with the blue feet. All right, so as we move forward in this course, we'll see how evolution tells us about how these things are connected in some way. We have the power of theory to help explain our world. All right, so here's a few ideas that we'll think about during this semester. Here's one. Organisms evolve to maximize reproductive fitness. Reproductive fitness, we're going to see, is a key to why it is that organisms do what they do. Here's another idea. The environment changes and organisms adapt to the environment. Adaptations are traits that organisms have that allow them to use resources in their environment very efficiently. That allows them to have more offspring. That allows them to pass on more alleles to their future generations, and we will see how that all fits together. Here's an interesting concept that's related. Evolution is not directional. In other words, we don't evolve into brighter, smarter, more capable organisms, stronger, larger, whatever. We evolve in response to changes in our environment. If the environment becomes warmer, we adapt one way. If the environment becomes cooler, we adapt another way. All right, we'll talk more about that as we move forward. Lastly, organisms make trade-offs. There are different ways to be successful in terms of reproductive fitness, but you cannot be the best at all of them. Organisms have to make choices, and we'll see what that means as we move ahead. So trade-offs, adaptations, reproductive fitness. All right, so normally when we're meeting in the classroom, we take this time to go visit our class website. If you've got this video, you've already been to our class website, I want to encourage you to read over our calendar, read over our syllabus, and on Wednesday when we meet, we can briefly discuss it and take some questions about it. All right, so what do I do here? My job here is to assist you in learning. Now, I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but I have actually studied the topics that we are talking about before. I am here to help you learn, but I cannot learn for you. It is up to you to teach yourself, to learn yourself, with me assisting and with our classmates assisting. We teach each other in this class, okay? But at the end of the day, you get out of it what you put into it. And what's interesting about that is all of us in our class, everybody you're going to see when you come to class on Wednesday, we all have different backgrounds in science. I don't know exactly what it is you need. You know what that's going to be. You will fill in your weaknesses. All of us have weaknesses. You will grow in your science abilities by being in our class, and we will work together to become better scientists. I will tell you this right now. I learn new things every time I teach this class. Alright, so let's go through just some basic tips on studying. Do not wait to the last minute to read. The text is dense and it requires some thought. Now, I give assigned reading before every class, and the reason I do this is because I've narrowed it down. So, for example, you typically read no more than 10 pages for each class meeting. I think the longest class reading that I have assigned is probably 15 pages. Okay? The expectation is, however, that you are going to read those pages before you arrive in class. Okay? Now, our chapters in our book are long. They're like 50 pages. So what I'm trying to avoid in this way is saying, oh, read chapter 4 and you're there. What should I focus on? There's 50 pages in here. I have narrowed it down for you, but my expectation is that you are going to read it. Now, sometimes reading in the sciences is complicated, particularly when you get into upper division classes. One thing that you can do is get a general biology textbook. That can be one that you used in 2107 and 8, or it can be one that you check out from the library. It doesn't have to be new. It could be one that you get from a used bookstore. But keep it on hand with you when you're reading evolutionary biology. We'll be covering a lot of different topics in this class. Some of them are molecular biology, some are plants, some are invertebrates. Use the textbook to remind yourself about things that you need to know. Okay. Another thing I recommend that you do, read questions as you go along. Read questions. Write down questions as you read along. And when you come to class, you can ask them. On the left there, we see Lisa Simpson. On the right, we see Homer Simpson. Why am I putting them there? Be like Lisa, not like Homer. I'm sorry, Homer. All right. Here's some basic advice. Study with a partner. Studying in groups is very effective. Don't just be there by yourself in your room reading, I got that, I got that, I got that. 3 minutes later, you've done all the reading. When you study with other people, they challenge you, you challenge them. They're like, oh, did you understand that one paragraph on page 17? You're like, I didn't see any paragraph on page 17. All right. So that's why you want to be talking about these things with other people, the topics that we're studying. You don't have to study with people every minute of the day, every time. You don't need somebody there holding your hand every time you have to study. But sometimes get together with other people and study with them. All right. Here's a related topic, active learning. When you are reading, you need to have your brain on when you are working. You need to ask yourselves, how does this topic relate to things that we studied before? What's the connection? Gee, this seems like it's different than something we saw earlier. I wonder why. I better think about this. In other words, use your brain, not like, da 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 da, I'm watching this show on YouTube at the same time that I'm studying evolutionary biology. And not only that, I'm listening to my tunes on my phone. Not that. That's not going to work. You do need to work at this. Sometimes you'll be reading and you're like, man, I need a nap. Go take a little nap. Why not? Okay? Is not active learning. You need to be focused harder than this to make it meaningful.